Hey guys, I'm back. I just finished reading that one section, but I want to keep going. We have a bit more to cover. I had to pause in between videos because that helicopter came back again. Doesn't it know I'm trying to record videos for my students? Okay. Wednesday, September 22nd at 10 a.m. See, my hair's a mess again, guys. Anytime I turn on the camera. I'm sitting at the cafe all by myself. Just got here. Right after I deleted Sarah's email, I went back to bed. The sun was coming up, which made me feel safer. That whole vampire thing is so right on. Darkness and evil go together like sprinkles on cupcakes. It's amazing how much calmer I am when it's light. Anyway, I didn't wake up until an hour ago, and then I went downstairs and discovered that my dad has decided to stay home from work and spend the day with Henry. Henry, is leaving tomorrow. My dad took all of last week off from work. He's supposed to take this week off too, but according to him, the place was falling apart. My dad has worked for the same company since before I was born. He's a maintenance mechanic at a paper mill, which means he works on a gigantic metal machine with a lot of moving parts. The machine is worth a lot of money. If it breaks down, it's a big deal. Problem is my dad has been there so long, everyone else is younger or less experienced than he is with this dinosaur of a machine. So if it rattles or shakes funny, everyone freaks out and they call my dad. It's amazing that it lasted a week, he said when I was down on the porch. Took 2 days just to calm everyone down, but I still have time for a Cabela's run. Yes, Dad had that sporting goods gleam in his eye. At Cabela's, the fishing section alone is bigger than some of the lakes I've been on. You should come with us, said Henry. He was wearing a cowboy hat I hadn't seen before. Where'd you get that hat? I asked. Henry took it off and examined it with some pride. Yard sale. $2. Can you believe that? Did you wash it? Henry looked at the cowboy hat as if he hadn't thought of that, but probably should have. Then he set it on his knee and looked back at me for an answer about whether or not I was going with them. I'm not sure I can walk that much, I lied. A trip to Cabela's sounded amazing, and I totally could have done it. But I might walk downtown and back. My dad piped in. I'm glad to hear you're at least thinking of getting outside. That room of yours is starting to smell funny. The truth is, and this was actually okay with me, I could tell my dad wanted a few hours alone with his best friend on his last day in town. I could understand how important it was, even if he didn't. You guys have a good time, I said. Don't spend too much of my college fund. So why does Ryan understand how important it is to spend time with your best friend? Yeah, who's his best friend? Sarah. Yep. And can he spend a lot of time with her right now? No. Yep. So for him, it's valuable to spend time with his best friend. So also be, yep. You guys have a good time, I said. Don't spend too much of my college fund. I knew as well as my dad did how easy it was to blow months of savings at Cabela's in a matter of hours. Dad's timing seemed to be working out really well for me since I was supposed to be watching The Crow all day from the vantage point of the cafe. But then Henry went inside to run a dish rag around the rim of his new cowboy hat, and my dad and I were left alone on the porch. He sipped his coffee and set the cup on a folding card table that had seen more action on the front porch in the past week than it had in the previous year. How's that leg doing? You ready for school? He asked. He didn't sound like he was going to badger me about Sarah, so I played along. I think it'll be okay. Seeing some of my friends will be nice. It's getting a little old being home every day. I'm glad to hear it. Sitting around Skeleton Creek will get you nowhere. He picked up his cup and looked at the drawing on the side. My dad is very fond of a good coffee cup, and this one, I had to admit, was my favorite. It was white with an old Far Side cartoon on it where two deer are standing together, and one of them has a big red bullseye on its chest. The one without the bullseye looks at this poor deer and says, "Bummer of a birthmark." I was thinking how clever this was when my dad said, "Let me see your phone." He knew I kept it with me a lot of the time, and there was no point trying to hide the fact that I had it just then, so I gave it to him. He had become a lot savvier with phones and computers in the past few weeks. The accent seemed to wake him up to the fact that he needed to know what was going on or risk missing something that might get me killed. In a weird way, this made me feel loved, like he was willing to put in some effort in order to protect me from myself. But like I've been saying all along, I'm 2 steps ahead of my dad when it comes to stuff like this. Every teenager is. Most parents, even ones like mine that are actually trying to keep up, are perpetually behind. He touched some of the buttons, obviously checking it for text messages from Sarah and callback numbers. I'd gotten plenty of calls from other friends I wasn't close to but stayed in contact with anyway. But he wasn't going to find anything from Sarah. I was surprised when he held the phone to his ear. He's using my phone to call someone. No one answered, so he hung up and handed the phone back to me. "No one's home at Sarah's," he said. "If she had been there, she would have picked up. Caller ID would have told her it was my cell phone. It's a lucky thing she was gone." He dug into his back pocket and pulled out a fat wallet. This is one of the old school things I like about my dad. I love his old jeans and the prehistoric leather belt that holds them up. But this wallet, I don't know. It seems like the sort of thing I'd never carry. It's shaped funny, like it's been sat on for 20 years. Its worn leather is dark in the middle and lighter on the edges. My dad opens it up, there are all kinds of treasures in there. Pieces of paper from out of nowhere, notes about forgotten things, faded pictures of me and my mom, pennies and nickels that have left round marks in the leather. "Here," he said, handing me a 20 with a fold in one corner. "Get yourself a new shirt while you're downtown. Might come in handy for school." Henry burst out onto the porch with the hat back on his head, all excited about getting on the road. He wanted to be back before 2 o'clock so they could fish the creek one last time. Dad finished up his coffee, and soon they were gone in my dad's pickup, leaving the house empty except for me. I stayed on the porch, afraid to go up the stairs to my room. I was starting to hate my room. I finally got up the nerve to enter the house. It should have been no big deal climbing the stairs, but I took it real slow and quiet, like something bad might happen if I was too loud. Slowly I headed up the stairs, cursing every creaky step until I reached the top. I looked down the hall and thought about searching my dad's room again, but I didn't have the guts to do it. Once was enough. I gathered a couple of journals, some pens, and a copy of Edgar Allan Poe's best short stories. I felt in my pocket for the 20 my dad had handed me. That, I figured, should buy plenty of pie and coffee. Because remember, he's going to the diner, so he's got to sit there a bit. And you can't just sit in a diner. You got to order something. Wednesday, September 22nd, 11:30 a.m. The waitress my mom knows isn't working today, which has led me to consume more cups of coffee than should be allowed by law. My hands are shaking. I can feel my heart racing in my chest. This can't be good for me. 2 slices of pie couldn't have helped. That's a lot of sugar. But I can't drink coffee on an empty stomach. I've got $10 left. How much am I supposed to tip this lady? She keeps asking me if I want a refill, and I keep saying yes, so I have a reason to stay without seeming like I'm just taking up space. How does one become a waitress in a dead-end town? I've never seen her around here before. I'd guess she's about 25. Did she move here? And if so, what the heck for? She probably married a local who moved back here. She couldn't have known what she was getting herself into. Bummer for her. From where I'm sitting, I can see the library, but the black crow above the door is at an angle and too far away. To my eyes, it's an indistinct blob of black above the door. I've been scouting the angle, though, and it looks to me like Dr. Watts could see the crow from the second story of his house. He's only a half block off Main Street, and his window points in the right direction. I haven't seen anyone enter or leave the library all morning, not even Gladys, who I assume is holed up inside, either reading something hugely boring or concocting some sort of scheme to get me killed. I think now is my best chance to get inside the men's room at Longhorns. I can't remember what happens there on Wednesdays, but something is always going on in the middle of the day. I don't think it's the guilt-making club, and I know it's not fly tying. My plan is to do this quickly and get back so I don't miss it if the crow gets moved. I want to see who does it, so I'll swing past Dr. Watts' house and see if he really can catch a glimpse of the front of the library. Then I'll go to Longhorns and return back here. I should be able to do all that in an hour, maybe faster with the caffeine jump in my step. Wednesday, September 22nd, 12:43 p.m. That took longer than I expected. How was I supposed to know they were building trains up at Longhorns? Have you ever stumbled into a room full of model train enthusiasts? Those guys are big-time recruiters, so they wouldn't leave me alone. They'd all heard about my accident, and some old-timer told the really horrible story about a conductor who fell between 2 train cars and held on for dear life with both hands. His legs bounced around until finally someone found him and hauled him back to safety, but by that time both his legs were broken. So this guy says to me, Lucky he didn't end up under the train. That's a whole nother story you don't even want to hear. I hadn't wanted to hear the first story either, but that hadn't stopped him from telling it to me, and sure enough, he told me this other story about the guy who fell under the train. I'm not going to repeat it. It's a bad story. I actually have gone to a model train enthusiast convention, just so you know. My friend, her husband, runs one, and I volunteered at it. I think it's going to be my new thing. It's kind of fun. I'll do it, volunteer once a year. Once they had me standing there, I had to hear about the engines and the trains that used to run through town and look at all their models and on and on. It was pretty interesting, actually. I was standing there thinking, hey, I could join these guys if I didn't have school. I could get my own train and do some research on this and that. These old guys aren't that bad. In other words, I was distracted. It was about 30 minutes after I'd left the cafe that I realized I was away from my post and was probably missing old Joe Bush himself turning the Black Crow on the steps of the library. I excused myself to use the men's room. Once I was in there, I realized a sink is a lot easier to climb on top of when you don't have a leg that was recently broken into a bunch of pieces. But I was determined to get that window open for Sarah. I must have been in there a long time, like 10 minutes, because I'd only just unlatched the top window and gotten halfway down again when I heard someone at the door peeking in, asking if I was okay. Had I fallen into the toilet? The usual stuff. I sort of half fell, half climbed the rest of the way down, and landed on my rear end on the tile floor. It's a miracle I didn't hurt myself. The same guy who told me the 2 train stories helped me up and tried to make me feel better by commenting on how difficult it must be to go to the bathroom with a broken leg, etc., etc. The funny thing was, I'd had about 10 cups of coffee, and I really needed to use the bathroom, but I'd already been in there forever, so I made for the door and headed back here, to the cafe, which is where I'm sitting. I went straight to the bathroom. When I got back, there was a glass of water at my table. My table? How funny is that? I never come in here. More coffee? The waitress asked me. She said it like she'd prefer it if I found someplace else to take up space on the planet. We'd been sharing idle chit-chat all morning about school, my injury, the town, but generally she was a 1 or 2 word conversationalist, and this more coffee question was all I was going to get. Can I just stick with the water instead? I asked. She gave me the evil eye like I was a freeloader, so I ordered a 3rd slice of pie and kept my eye on the crow. It still hasn't changed. Who do you think's going to change the crow? Yeah, could be. Could be. Wednesday, September 22nd, 12:58 p.m. I can't believe what just happened. 10 or 15 minutes ago, while I'm choking down a bite of cherry pie, guess who I see coming up Main Street? Our friendly neighborhood park ranger, Daryl Bonner. He walked right past the library, glanced at it, and crossed the street. I slumped behind my journal, and then thought I better not have it out or he might turn private eye on me and try to confiscate it as evidence. Can a park ranger do that? I don't know, but he's got a uniform and he's a big guy, so I didn't take any chances. I bent down and put it in my backpack, and when I glanced back up again, I heard the bell ding at the cafe door and watched Ranger Bonner walk toward my table. I'm not sure if it was all the coffee I'd drunk or what, but I was super nervous. Hi, Ranger Bonner, I said with a shaky voice. It sounded like I'd just thrown someone under a train. The rest of the conversation went like this. Bonner. Feeling better, I see. Me. Yes, much. Thank you, sir. Bonner. Seen Sarah lately? Me. No, sir, I haven't seen her in a long time. Bonner. She's still snooping around. She can't seem to leave things alone. Me. I wasn't aware, since I haven't seen her. Mind you, my voice was shaking every time I opened my mouth. No more coffee. Bonner. You're sure you haven't talked to her? Me. Oh, I'm sure. I'd remember that. Bonner. Very funny. Me. Not trying to be funny, sir. He looked at me sideways and stood up. I could tell he didn't trust me. That's all we need. Daryl Bonner following me and Sarah. He made for the door without turning back, then disappeared down the block. I drank a glass of water, went to the bathroom again, and stared at the library. Sitting at the cafe was making me realize I don't want to be a spy when I grow up. Too much sitting around doing nothing. 5 more minutes just went by and oh no, don't tell me. This can't be. Is that my dad? He's coming up Main on the other side of the street. What time is it? 1:05 p.m. He and Henry are back from the city like they said, but they should be heading for the creek. Okay, I'm just going to slide down this booth, watch him, and take a few notes. He's in front of the library, looking both ways. Now looking off toward Dr. Watt's house. He's going up the steps. Has his hand on the crow. Can't see what he's doing. He's down the steps and crossing the street. Coming toward me? He can't come in here. No way. Here he is, right in front of the window, about to reach the door. Hold your breath, Ryan. That always helps. Keep your head down. Keep writing. He's walking like he's got somewhere to be. He's gone down the street toward my house and out of sight. Whew, that was way too close. If he saw me watching him, I don't know what I'd do, or what he'd do. I can't see the crow. I should have brought binoculars. Hold on. Something else is happening. Ooh, so who changed the crow? Yeah, Ryan's dad. Excuse me. How do you think Ryan feels about this? Yeah, this is crazy. Well, we know something else is going to happen, but I'm not going to tell you in this video. We'll keep reading in the next one. All right? See you guys soon.